Welcome to another episode of HCP Visits. Here's your host, Woody Watts.
This is Woody Watts with Hill City Paranormal, and today I am digging back into the archives for another classic episode of I Believe. I Believe is probably one of my favorite projects that I've ever been a part of. We produced this show several years ago, and it really came from my love of Art Bell and Coast to Coast and those late night AM, FM radio talk shows where callers would call in and you really did not know what to expect. And so while I Believe is no longer produced and the phone number you hear is not active, we encourage you to call our new number at 434-381-0242 and enjoy this episode of I Believe as our host talks to two people that have had numerous UFO experiences. Enjoy.
Welcome back, believers. This is your host, Rick Rambleman, and this is I Believe with Rick Rambleman. First, I'd like to read a message from a listener. We have Whitney from Tinton Falls, New Jersey, who writes, "Love the topics you discuss on your show, and I remain a loyal listener, but your constant use of fillers like and really detract from what is otherwise an enjoyable program. My sister, she's my cousin really, but she's basically my sister, says the show should be called I Believe with Rick Umbleman. You're better than that, Rick. Probe her wrong." I think Whitney means or meant to write prove her wrong. Given the nature of some of the topics we have on the show, perhaps that is an intentional or unintentional Freudian slip or a pun. I'm not sure. But let's see if we can prove her wrong. Oops. There was an Let's see if we can prove her wrong. Of course, I'm going to be very cognizant of my filler as I respond to Whitney. And that's a good thing, because Whitney writes in with a criticism of the show that I think comes from the right place. We can get feedback that is positive. We can get feedback that is negative. It's all appreciated. But when you get positive feedback, friends, family members, acquaintances saying, "Love your show is great, really enjoy listening to it," you don't always know if it's sincere. When someone sends a message like this that includes a criticism of the show, you can believe it's sincere. And that candor, although you may not want to hear it, is appreciated. So thank you, Whitney, and thank your sister/cousin/sister for the little bit of snark that has now caused me to rethink how I do this program and how I can make it better. So I agree that ums and uhs can be distracting and annoying. Sometimes I'll be listening to someone speak on a very interesting topic, and I cannot focus on anything except those fillers, whether they're uhs and ums or likes and you knows. So I get it. And I want this show to be as good as it can be for the listeners, for myself, for the great staff we have here. So Whitney, I will take this to heart, and I'm going to do my best going forward to probe or prove your sister wrong. Great. We've gotten that out of the way. Now, I am very excited about our next caller. I should say callers, because this is a husband and wife team, Melanie and Ian, who have some really interesting things to share. And Chet, I believe we have Melanie and Ian on line 2, so if you could give those to me now. Hello, Melanie and Ian.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, this is Rick. Welcome to the Believers Line.
Hi, thank you so much for having us.
Definitely appreciate you giving us a call. I have to say, that I definitely appreciate this because this is a milestone for me. This is the first husband and wife team I've ever interviewed. So thank you for being the first that milestone, I should say. So I start every one of these programs with a very basic question. So I'll ask it to both of you, Ian and Melanie.
Okay.
What do you believe?
Oh, boy, that's broad.
It's extremely broad, but I have a hint there's something you'd like to discuss.
Okay, well, boy, I think the better answer is with another question of what don't we believe?
Okay.
We look at everything with an open mind, and then we do a lot of research to see if it's something that we want to take into our psyche or dismiss.
And so we do believe in many different things. We believe in, guardian angels. We believe in source. We also believe in extraterrestrials. And we were introduced to this concept about 2 years ago. I've always been a believer that we're not alone in the universe. Ian also kind of had a feeling.
I was heavily indoctrinated into what society wants you to believe. I didn't believe in conspiracy anything, and I thought anyone who did was freaking crazy until I actually did the research myself and just came upon so many articles and reviews and stories that I had no choice but to start believing in some of this stuff.
And was it Melanie who kind of brought you into the fold of doing that research?
Well, the interesting thing about that, and I think it's important for everyone, is that, I could only tell so much. I could only say all the research I had seen. But it comes to a point of you have to do the research yourself or experience it yourself for your own belief, because everyone's going to believe something different. And so I just told Ian, I'm like, all right, well, you go research and you find your own truth. And he just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Mind blown.
And now, did you find that as you were searching together, you were finding similar things, or was there conflict then in the different things you were finding?
No, actually, we've been researching very deeply now for over 2 years, and we found that there are many consistencies, and as you do the research, you actually find it's easier to weed out things that are not true because they're not consistent with what you've been learning. And so once you kind of channel into that truth, that inner truth in yourself of what you know is real, all the other stuff that doesn't fit.
Well, the other things just fall away because they don't have enough proof that back them up.
Thank you. It's about, they don't have proof. They don't have science behind it. And a lot of what we look for and a lot of what we do and research, we look for scientific proof, and we have books that are out of print. We dig very deeply to find evidence to support what we believe. We're not blind believers.
Now, speaking of not being blind, you actually have some videos that you've posted on YouTube that I watched. Particularly, there was one where you were at Mount Shasta, and another one I think it's in Utah at Upheaval Dome. And can you tell us, maybe this is your chance to plug both those videos, because this is a podcast listening audience and they can't see what we're talking about, but I'd love the chance for our listeners to go and see your videos. So this is your time right now to plug it, and then we can discuss it. How can they see your videos?
Yeah, well, we just started a channel called ET Connections on YouTube, and our goal is to bring truth to light. We want to find hard evidence in a positive light, because not all ET stuff is negative, and it's been cast as negative and scary for decades. It's just the realm of the crazy, and if they are real, well, they're evil. Well, that's just not true at all.
I think some of that might be because it's in movies, and movies are driven by conflict, whereas reality doesn't necessarily have to be driven by conflict.
No, it truly doesn't, and that's a lot of mind viruses, as we call them.
It's programming. I mean, the whole way that programming works is to harness the mass perception, and when you have a certain perception, that's what you're going to believe. So if there are movies that are coming out that it's negative and bad and scary, well, that's what you're just going to believe, and we won't go into who would want things bad.
Well, so our goal is to smash that perception, and we're putting ETs in the positive light that they belong in. These are our cosmic brothers and sisters, and we have had benevolent contact with them, and we're going to continue to do so and continue to record. We're going to be upgrading our equipment as things progress and getting better recordings. So that's our goal for the channel is to bring light to the truth.
Excellent. And I can say from watching the, for both films, but let me talk about the Mount Shasta one first. I was definitely intrigued by what I saw. And then there's also some things that you speak about in terms of what you experience beyond the pulsing lights that show up in the video. One thing that, just from my perspective, was you showed satellites, you showed other things that any of us could see in the night sky, and then there were these pulsing lights that really seemed like they were interacting with you had a green laser pointer, I believe, correct?
Yeah.
And from my perspective, it almost looked playful. Now that's me putting that spin on it, but from me watching it looked like it was almost a playful response to your light. What was it like for you two experiencing it?
Well, I got the gist. I get a lot of telepathic messages when we're doing this sort of experience, and they were saying it was going to be a really big night, and it sure was. We were actually out there from 10 p.m. to 4:30 a.m. because we had so much contact going on in using a variety of our senses to interact with us. And I definitely sensed playful. They were very interested. They really were supportive and just wanted to. I think playful was a great word.
Yeah, that's a great one.
What was the order of things? Did you get the sense of a telepathic connection and then the lights? Or was it you saw the lights and then you contacted or they contacted you?
Well, it depends, because sometimes during the night we actually will be contacted by several different ET groups, and so some of them will just blink and not send any messages, and there are other ones who want to come closer, and they will send messages, and then we will also see their lights. So in the Shasta video, we had a group that had come and was among us, and then they had said to me, okay, well, we're going to go. And the moment they said that, Ian saw a light on a nearby hill.
No, it was in the sky.
It was in the sky?
Yeah.
All right. Well, it was closer by, and then it just shot off into another direction. And so sometimes they'll say goodbye or say hello. They don't always want to have long conversations, of course, and we'll just say one or two words and that's it. So it really just depends on the ET group. Again, sometimes when we go out, we don't have any telepathic responses. It's just strictly visual. And other nights, like the last video you saw, it's a lot of telepathic interaction. And they also were interacting with my brother, who was there as well. Anyone who's certainly open, and I think Ian, they were poking our blankets. They were very interested.
Now, one thing that caught my attention as you were talking about it was you saying different ET groups. Do you mean, are you assuming these are one species in different groups with different agendas, or are you talking about possibly different extraterrestrial species from vastly different home planets all converging here?
Well, here's what we do. We follow Dr. Stephen Greer's CE5 protocol. That's Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. It's human-initiated. So we go out there and we are meditating inviting any benevolent ET being that is willing to come and communicate with us
in a benevolent way. And so I do believe it's the latter of what you said, of that it can be any ET group from any star system, but they all have the common goal of peace and unconditional love.
Now, do you sense them differently? Are there distinctions about these different ET groups that now this is gonna sound flip only because I'm trying to put a name to it, like those are the Bob aliens, and these are the Ray aliens, and those are the Janine aliens. Do you sense the differences? I'm not trying to, I'm using funny names because I don't have names for them.
Yeah.
Do you sense the differences?
I actually, energetically, yes. Sometimes when we are in our meditation, they will show up in our visual field with our eyes closed, and we can see what they look like. And
that's more Melanie than me. She's more the intuitive empath.
you see stuff too.
I do see stuff. She sees it and hears it better than I do. So we're a good team that way. But yeah, I mean, there are definitely different species out there. Some names are like Pleiadian or insectoid or anything like that. But
we've
we don't
had.
ask.
Yeah,
I don't ask.
I usually don't really ask either. If they want to show themselves, I'm always open. As far as energetic, though, they are different in that some are far more reserved or shy, even though they're still loving and benevolent. They're, for some reason, they're still shy and want to be safe for whatever reason it could be. There's something in the area around us that we don't know about. And then there are other ones, like in the Shasta video, who were very curious and wanted to be among us. So you can tell it's just this feeling that they want to stay over here, and they just want to observe from afar.
Sometimes they want to get a little closer, and we have heard footsteps crunching in the gravel behind us, approaching us and getting louder, and we both looked around, and it immediately stopped.
And there was no one there.
And there was nobody there. So it gets interesting sometimes when you're out there.
Yeah, so it's kind of like being around other people. If you were in a crowded room, you would, or at a party, you would take notice of the energy of the other people. Oh, look, there's, Susie in the corner who clearly just doesn't really want to be here, or there's Bob who's super angry. Let's steer clear of him. And so it's that sort of thing. It's just like normal people, but they all just kind of have their own emotions. They want to show their support, but they're going to do it in whatever the way they feel safest.
Yeah. So to answer your question point blank, we've never actually asked what species they are. Perhaps we will in the future. That's a good question. And
one of the things that struck me in the Shasta video, you were talking about the temperature change. I think it was in the Shasta video. Correct me if I'm wrong. You were talking about a sense of a temperature change when during the time they were there, the temperature went up and down considerably.
Yes. We've had that sensation multiple times on different CE5 expeditions we do. And I love it because I'm always cold. So I always really appreciate it when that's like kind of one of my favorite things now is, hey, I love that one because, but yeah, they did that. And it was about an 8 to 10 degree difference. We're going to get a really good powered, thermometer, so we can start actually putting that on camera.
Yeah.
Because it's that noticeable. And
we had to take our blankets off because we're near the top of Mount Shasta. We're at 7,750-foot elevation, and there is snow on top of the mountain, and the wind is coming down from the top of this high mountain, and it's not cold. We are warming up during this telepathic communication, and it's pleasant and surprising at the same time. And when they go and it gets cold again, we're like, oh man, come back.
Now,
I had a group that told me because I was cold, and because I was cold, I had my legs crossed and my arms crossed. And energetically, when you are crossing your arms or your legs, you're actually keeping out interactions, or you're just putting a defensive.
That's the same thing with interactions with other humans. It's that's a sign of body language. Sure.
Yeah, and so one of them a group had said, if you uncross, we will warm it up. The moment I uncrossed my arms and my legs, it warmed up. And I'm like, okay, well, as long as you do that, I'll stay uncrossed.
So even though this is a somewhat spiritual experience, there's still creature comforts that need to be obtained, correct?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have our comfortable chairs, and it does get cold whenever we go out, wherever we go out, and or we have just varying ranges of atmosphere when we go, and it's nice that I sense it as a unconditional love, an act of unconditional love when they send warmth now, because we're cold, and to warm us up, it's like, to me, that's proof of their benevolency and of their genuine care for humanity, that would be something that they would do and keep doing it while they were there. So I think it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And you seem to get a sense that they know that already, that you're cold.
I'm sure they're aware of it. And when they start interacting, especially telepathically, when we set up this, connection of, oh, okay, I hear you. It's like, wow, I'll maybe talk to you and be like, wow, I'm really cold. But they are then a part of that conversation as long as they're going to be around. And while this has only been a couple of occurrences on a couple different expeditions so far, this was by far the most caring and loving group of ETs we had encountered, because they kept it warm while they were there. And, sorry. I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah.
It's just love stories. Like, oh, they're so nice.
Now, do you have times where you've gone out and nothing happens?
Yeah.
That does happen. It's pretty rare for absolutely nothing to happen.
Okay, well, yeah.
So
I agree.
there is, like, for example, we led a group of about 20 people out just a few days ago, and we were out there and we're doing our thing, and unfortunately, there was another group of people who also were in the nearby vicinity. They were stargazers, but I think that really hampered our ability to receive contact, because from what we've found, these ETs don't want to make them known to people who are not ready yet. And these guys, we talked to them, we were friendly with them, but they seemed pretty closed off to this kind of stuff. And I think that's the reason we didn't receive much contact that night. We did receive some. We had some of that blinking light phenomenon. It was faint and far and few between. But we're going to try again with that group at a more a different destination.
I also think, though, I mean, my initial thing was, yeah, of course, we've gone out, but when, as Ian was talking, it's actually exceptionally rare. I think it's happened none. I mean, it's at least a little swirl or a flash or something of notice after our meditation. So the length of how much contact is really what varies, but we always get at least someone going, hi, at least one, and those are about as little as we get.
So do you ever feel contact or connection without you going and seeking it first? I think, if I understand correctly, the CE5 protocols is human initiated. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is it ever ET initiated as far as you've experienced?
Well,
Yeah.
I need to hear this story.
Oh, those are a lot of stories. I don't know.
There's the one in...
Okay, so here's one that popped into mind to share. So I was following my, Ian and our kids home from my parents' house, and we live in the mountains, and it's kind of a curvy road, and I was behind them by whatever a safe distance is. We were both going the same speed limit, and I wasn't at all far behind him. I could read the license plate enough. But we were coming up to this really big turn and or curve, and this huge white flash lit up my car. And I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if Ian just saw that. But to me, it looked like it was in front of their car. It was just this big white orb, and then it flashed.
I saw nothing.
Yeah, he later said he saw nothing. But the moment I was going, wow, I can't wait to tell Ian, I looked in front of me, and his car was gone. And all the cars were gone on the road. And I was driving, and I came around the curve, and he wasn't there. And I'm like, wait, what happened? And I started speeding, trying to catch up, and no matter how much I sped, I couldn't catch up to them. And I started thinking, oh my gosh, and everything wasn't feeling right. Like, I'm like, where am I? Am I even still in my hometown? What time is it? What year is it? Like, everything felt instantly like something happened, and I have no idea what it is. And when I finally pulled into our street, I saw them. They were already getting out of the car, and my heart was rejoicing as if I hadn't seen them in months or years even. It's like a reunion feeling, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I get to see them. It's like I almost wanted to cry. I'm like, why am I feeling this way? And I still to this day have no recollection of what happened. I do, through other various forms of healing modalities and all our inner work that we've been doing, have been told that I've have a history of interactions, let's say, with ET beings, but I do not have any real conscious recollections. I have snippets that I've been shown because there are some ETs that come through will show me snippets, and I've talked with people about what happened, and they've had snippets to share, but no conscious, long memories of what actually happened to me growing up. So that's one of my stories.
So that was an ET initiated encounter. I was
just singing to my radio, and I wasn't thinking about that stuff, and it just happened. And this was actually even before we started doing CE5. So we hadn't even begun doing the human-initiated contact yet.
Did that experience lead you to want to learn about CE5 and then be the one to be able to reach out? Did that influence you?
Yeah, it definitely did, because I was really curious. I've always been curious about ETs. I've never been a person to not believe believe we're the only ones in the universe. I don't buy that. So that certainly was an influence because I wanted to know more. And as we've been doing all of our work, it only gets more and more interesting. And I kind of run across things, and I work with my own guides and guardians who will show me things. Usually when I'm doing something like breath work that is helping to actually release old
negative emotions
that they didn't have to do with any benevolent ETs. and so benevolent ones would talk to me though about it and that sort of thing. So yes.
So now, did you receive some training in this? Did you seek out people who were experiencing this, or did you learn it remotely or just innately?
There has been no formal training. What happened is we just happened upon Greer's work. I believe it was through Gaia that we had found it, the web-based TV programming area. And so we researched it more. The fact that he was able to do human-initiated contract was fascinating. So
we just tried it.
Yeah, we just tried it. We downloaded his app. I think it was like $3 to $5, and we already had some equipment, not much. We had a crappy camping chair, so our necks were aching that first night. But we had those same blinking, flashing, strobing lights in the field that we did our first one on, not in the field, sorry, in the sky, but in the field we heard languages we couldn't comprehend, as well as the strange, like a ringing, almost mechanical sound. It's really hard to,
electronic.
Yeah,
but
a signal of some kind.
And
yeah,
now,
so there was a formal training, but you do use a lot of your own intuitive abilities when you're out there. So he gives you a meditation and leads you through the meditation. But after that, how you interact with the beings is completely on you, and completely on your own, what you're willing to open up to experiencing.
We couldn't find anything. It was really hard for us. We went online and tried to find other people who've done this and learn from them. And we searched YouTube, and we were having a really hard time finding it. And that's one of the reasons we created ET Connections on YouTube, so that we could put this out there more for other people to also be human ambassadors for our species and Earth, and show everyone that, we're not a bad species.
now, do you think that other people can learn this, or does someone need some innate intuition to be able to make this contact?
So my belief is that anybody can learn it, but just because they can doesn't mean they're ready. And
Okay.
so you can go ahead and, look at Greer's stuff. He has, CDs available, and you can look at the material, see how it's done. But if you go out and you're not getting anything over and over and over again, you may need to look at what your subconscious, your soul might not be ready for communication. Now, a lot of these ET beings will, kind of talk with your guides or with your oversoul to see if you're ready, and if that's something. They're not allowed to interact against free will. And so if your subconscious is saying, I am so afraid, I am so not ready, they are so not coming.
Odds are, though, if you've taken the time and effort to go out and make a group, or if it's just you and one other person, and you're out there in the wilderness, in the dark, odds are pretty good that you're ready for it, because that's a pretty big leap of faith.
People don't see much. But so it's just about the amount of what you will see, how often they come, or it's going to be based on what you can perceive and are ready to perceive. So they could be walking around you, but again, if there's like the subconscious fear, you may not recognize that they're there, and you may only just be able to see with your eyes when they flash or something. So it just comes down to anyone can learn it, but go within yourself and make sure
you're ready.
Make sure you're really ready. Make sure you trust yourself. Check, what do you really believe ET contact is like? Is it overshadowed by all the movies? Is it, we don't usually watch ET movies. I never grew up watching scary alien movies. And
I did, so I slept in my parents' room for a lot of years when I was a kid.
So one thing that I was very curious about and wanted to ask you, I saw the flashing lights in both of the videos. Is your concept that the lights are some kind of craft, or is the light the ET itself?
I believe that it is a craft. Their technology is so incredibly advanced. From what we've researched and learned, that they have consciousness-assisted technology. So their craft itself has its own consciousness that they can interface with, which is fascinating. And I'm still researching that stuff. That's really interesting.
That brings me to my next question, and it'll be my last question, actually. And this is I see this program as a search for knowledge. And one of the things I imagine almost all human explorers and seekers have had that desire to know what's beyond that curve on the path, and what is the view from that hilltop, and what is beyond that next ridge. And so I use that as an analogy to ask a question: what's the next thing that you're seeking? What's the next bit of knowledge? What's the next ridge or hilltop or corner that you're interested in getting around?
That is a really good question.
Thank you.
Like, we got to think about that.
Yeah, we do a lot of research with like the Presence Process, which is a book, and The Power of Now. So oftentimes we are reining ourselves in from trying to live too much in the future or living too much in the past. And so we live in the now and we focus on what it is we're currently working on, or, well, you know, what issue do we need to fix right now, or what kind of fun are we going to have right now? And so for me, that's where I'm at, and I do have to think about where it is I want to go with my next step. Did you have a next step that you want to go? What's your next step?
I know. That's funny. That's actually just such a good question. I don't think it's so much as where do we want to go as that we're actually really kind of satisfied with where we are, in that when you do your inner work and when we've been on this path for over 2.5 years, when you go into yourself and really find yourself and ground yourself, you find that your guardians, you've been working with other beings your whole life. ET beings are no different than your guardians. And so you find that you've just been in contact with everyone and anyone you could want to be in contact with. And you don't have to put actually a ton of effort to go interact with them. And so for me, I think I'm just really content with where I am, because I know that whatever my next step is, which, I mean, who wouldn't love, to go walk onto a spaceship and have it recorded in HD?
Right.
But it's not a requirement, because I already interact with these beings. I already interact with my guardians and celestials and source, and that's fulfilling. So I think finding that when we are always searching for the next mountain and over the next hilltop is really a search for fulfillment. And all the beings that we've ever wanted to work with are here in the now, and they only work in the now because now is all there is.
I understand, and I respect that, and I can definitely say that that's probably a very healthy way to go about life, whether it's dealing with CE5 protocols or just plain old human life. And so I want to thank both of you for coming on the program. This has been very enlightening for me. I enjoyed watching your videos, and then talking to you took it to a whole nother level. I think that I know that I'm going to keep following your videos, and please stay in touch. If there are things that you uncover and want to talk about, if you weren't looking for that next hill but you found it, I would love to have you both on the program again. So thank you very much, Ian and Melanie. You've been great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we definitely appreciate it. We're making a new video soon. We're going to be taking a 15-mile hike out in the wilderness coming up in a week, and then we're heading out to Joshua Tree next month. So we do have some more in the works.
Well, we'll be following ET Connections, and we'll see it. So looking forward to seeing you. Take care.
Be sure to check out our website at hillcityparanormal.com, and thank you for listening.